We are new to homeschooling, and I'm very excited, but also nervous because I'm not a trained teacher. I'm struggling to understand what homeschool should look like for our family. I assumed it was recreating regular school at home, but now I'm figuring out that it doesn't work that way. Please help. I love this question so much. I'm going to let you answer this one first because you are a trained teacher, Abby.
Okay, I want to say you are blessed that you are not a trained teacher. Not being a trained teacher is going to make your homeschool that much better. I am a trained teacher, and it has taken me years to shake that, to unlearn all of the things that don't work in a home. So I get so sad when I hear people say, I'm not a trained teacher, and I want to give them a high five and say, then you're 10 steps ahead of me, because your home should not look like a public school. That's the whole reason you brought your kids home, is because the public school isn't working. It's not working for what we want for our children. So it says that's not it. You're recreating public school at home. I would say that the worst thing you can do as a homeschool mom is try to make your home look like a public school. Don't do it. Throw that out. Get rid of that. And it's really hard for some of us that were raised in the public school because we've been programmed to think that way. But listen to this podcast. Go back and listen to old ones, because we talk about how it shouldn't look like that. Number one, get rid of that idea. You were created to train and teach your children up in the Lord. And nowhere in the Bible does it say it takes a degree to do that. It says it takes a love for your child and a reverence for God and pointing your children to Him. You are fully equipped to do this job because God equipped you to do this job. I remember I said this on another thing we did when we bring babies home from the hospital and we've never had one, and they hand that blue nose sucker thing. And we're like, I'm not equipped to keep this baby alive, and you're handing me a blue nose sucker, and I'm supposed to, and we felt so ill-equipped, but we weren't. God gave us what we need.
Yeah.
And He's going to give you what you need as a homeschool mom. Just don't think that it needs to look like school. It doesn't. It needs to look like your family teaching and training your children.
Yes.
So it would take us hours to sit and talk about how exactly that would look, but the first step is to get rid of it. And I've heard people even say that you take a year or a semester or even a month just to decompress and set up your home life again and reconnect with one another and dump the school system ideal that is not an ideal, and take some time to just come back home and be with your kids and then start into what school looks like. You need to get rid of the old before you can start the new.
Yes. Yep. I agree completely. And everybody's homeschool looks different.
Yes.
It depends on so many things. And we, kind of back to the last question, find people who can walk alongside you, who have done this before, who can mentor you and help you figure out how it can work best for your family. And the first year is going to be a mess. And the second year is going to be a mess, but it'll be a little bit less of a mess. And the third year is going to be less of a mess than the second year. So take baby steps. Let me just explain one thing. Don't start everything all at the same time. Don't jump into day one or week one and try to do every single subject and think you're going to do it well. Do one thing at a time. I highly recommend starting with Morning Basket. We've talked quite extensively about that. We did a podcast quite some time ago with Pam Barnhill. And as a matter of fact, she did for Homegrown Generation, we talked about Morning Basket as well. So you can go back for only $10. You can have the entire 2020 Homegrown Generation Family Expo at your fingertips. But you can go and listen to Pam's session on that. And Morning Basket basically is, we literally in our family have a basket, and we have just different books in there. We always have a book that we're reading. Right now we're reading Anne of Green Gables. Have you read that before, Abby?
Yes.
I have never ever in my whole life read Anne of Green Gables. I don't know what's wrong with me. I've been living under a rock.
But you probably watched the movie they ruined.
No, I never have even watched the movie.
Okay.
But I am loving this book, and so are my girls. I mean, we get to the end of a chapter, they're like, one more. And we have the whole series. I've seriously had this series for probably 6 years.
Wow.
And I just now we have a lot of books, but for whatever reason. Anyway, rabbit trail. So we always have a book that we're reading. We have a Heroes Then and Now biography. We just got a new one that we're going to start reading. And we have our Classical Conversations timeline cards, and we read 1 or 2 timeline cards a day. We have maps in there so my girls can trace maps while I'm reading to them. We have other little kind of like brain games and things like that that they can do while I'm reading. We do our sword drills, which we talked about in the first part of our Q&A episode on Monday. So we do sword drills and Bible study. I mean, it can be anything you want it to be, but start with that because it just starts our day off on the right foot.
Right.
Where
It brings you all together.
It does, and it's not go to the table and let's do math and let's do science and history. Those things come into our day, of course, but it's just such a refreshing way to start our time. We're actually, and I mean, I'm in my 10th year of homeschooling and we're still taking kind of baby steps and things. You know, we're just now going to, next week, going to start introducing some famous artists and famous composers. And it doesn't have to be a big study on it. We're not going to make lap books about it. If you don't know what a lap book is, just type it into Pinterest. I've never in my 10 years of homeschooling ever made a single lap book, and we've survived all these years.
Fine.
But some people love lap books, and that's great.
And that's the thing that sets you apart from what the school looks like. Don't recreate it. It's what works for you. You in the public school, you are trying to fit every kid into a box.
Yes.
In homeschool, you are teaching to your unique child that God gave you, which means you're teaching at their pace.
Yes.
Not at the pace that's in the box. You're teaching to their gifts, to their talents. You're teaching to their interests. You might you might have a kid who every year for the rest of his life bucks you on learning about a composer. And guess what? They don't really have to. My guess is that child is not going to become a famous composer, and they'll be just fine not learning about them.
Right.
So just remember that you are not fitting your kid into a box like the public school, and that's the difference, is you're teaching to a unique individual that God created on purpose for a purpose and gave to you. So you're already equipped.
That's right.
So there's the difference. Can I throw into the last question and this question?
Yep.
I would tell both those parents that the year just began, I'm already overwhelmed. And then this one, I'm nervous because I'm not, there's an amazing book that I get every new homeschool mom called Teaching from Rest by Sarah McKenzie. And it is really, and every mom should read it every fall. It just puts you back in that mindset of not, we don't need to be frantic about this. We don't need to be stressed. We don't need to be overwhelmed. So that's another great resource for those questions.
Yep. Teaching from Rest. And my favorite, I know you love Teaching from Rest, and I do too. That's a great book. My favorite is The Unhurried Homeschooler by Dorinda Wilson, which is very similar. And it's a small book, easy read. These are not books that you need to sit and stew over for, hours and hours and days and days. Like these are literally like you can read them in a couple of hours.
Both of them. Yeah, that's what's amazing.
And Teaching from Rest, I actually have the audio book. And so I just have listened to it. I've never actually I don't even have the book. I just have the audio book. So I've only ever listened to it. But yes, it's fantastic. So just get those books because they will encourage you to know you don't have to do it all.
Exactly.
And take baby steps, take small steps.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Anyway, we are out of time again. Abby, thank you, my sweet friend. You are such a blessing. I love doing this with you. And thank you guys for listening again. Please continue to pray for our family as we work super hard to get this movie into your hands. If the Lord puts it on your heart to help support the Schoolhouse Rocked ministry financially, we would love that. You can go to schoolhouserocked.com and you'll see a button that says donate here, I think is what it says. And you can make a tax deductible donation through that website and learn more about the movie and the ministry that we have going. And again, make sure you mark your calendars for February 15th through the 19th for the next Homegrown Generation Family Expo. We are lining up speakers right now. And so far, everyone I've asked has said yes. And I'm not going to tell you yet who has said yes, but it's getting pretty exciting. So
that's so exciting. Which actually, that only leaves you 5 months to watch all of last year's session. So you need to get that today for only $10, and then you got 5 months to catch up on those, and then you can do the new one.
Easy breezy. Yeah, it's easy. So we have some exciting new speakers. We have some returning, and then some exciting new ones that will be joining us for 2021. So thank you guys. We love you. Have a fantastic day, and we will see you back here on Monday. Bye.